Hey, Dan, we are back. What's happening?
What's going on, buddy?
I know it's been like,
It's been a minute.
it's been, what date did you say was the last one we did?
August of 2023, the second part with Kathy Searle.
You mean 2022?
2022, sorry. I
Yes.
screwed it up already. Damn,
That's
it's
all
been
right.
so long.
It's been so long. I mean, that was the last one we did. It was over a year ago. Over
Yeah,
a year ago with Kathy Searle, who was a fantastic guest. She was we had a two-parter with her.
we did. We hit our. Well, you know what? We hit our high point and we walked away. That's that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Not really. Not when you're first starting out with your podcast. You can't hit a high point, 4 or 5 episodes in, and then say, "All right, man, what are you drinking over there?" I got my Appletini going today.
I've got a boulevard. I've changed my drink of choice over here. I was always Manhattan's back when we were doing this, but I've switched over to the Boulevardier, which is it's basically the bourbon version of a Negroni. Got a little bitterness to it, a little sweet, so it's got a little burn.
I see that. I see that. Yeah, those things will knock you on your butt, man.
Yeah, they will.
Well,
That is a slow. You can't pound those all night. You got, depending on how you pace yourself, maybe three, but probably two is your best bet, and then and a lot
you've
of
heard
water.
that saying. You've heard that saying.
What's that?
Those drinks are like boobs, right? Two is perfect. Three,
Is-
a little
not,
too many.
not too big.
Oh, okay. We started off on a
We did. We went down a road. So
we did already, so which is great because that's where I want to head with this this reboot, so to speak, of Appletinis. We should laugh and we should have fun and we should do
Absolutely.
stupid things. So I mean I feel like people are watching me, like as
yeah,
I'm
you
talking.
got some. I don't know. Can we say that they're guests on our show?
I guess we can say that they're guests, but not yet. Like
Right.
they were past guests. Look, because they're all younger, much younger than they are now.
Just occasionally, like we can get some AI to animate them, and they can just chime in at various points.
Every once in a while, Denzel's over my shoulder saying, "Well, you shouldn't say that."
Why is the Appletinis golden?
But anyway, those are from my old studio, if you remember.
Dude,
Studio Bo up in Baltimore when we had the spot up there, and we used to do all kinds of cool things out of that space. Actors Club, we did short videos, we did a lot of photography stuff up there. It was a lot of fun. I miss that
48
place.
Hour Films. It was the kind of the original base camp for the Night Watchman.
Yep, I miss that spot. That was a fun spot. So we had a lot of great times up there. But it lives on.
It does.
Here on the wall. So, which is
Studio Bo
fantastic.
lives on here in our hearts, man.
Does it?
It does.
I think it does. I think it does. I think it does. All right, Dan. You know what we need to do to get this thing kicked off?
I think I do.
Well, what is
I think it's time for Jeremy Ragsdale to sing the song.
it? And
Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah. Appletinis with Ken. Oh, 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 oh. Appletinis with Ken. Oh, oh yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah.
and we're back, Dan.
Whoa.
It gets to you, right?
does.
It gets in you.
It's-
You're like
fantastic.
Appletinis with Ken. Whoa, yeah. It's catchy. It's a catchy tune.
It is.
And Jeremy's doing a lot of cool stuff right now. He's playing in piano bars. He does Steakhouse in DC. He does MGM.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a regular gig at the National Harbor, right?
Yeah, he does that out there, and he's got another gig at a steakhouse. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I will get it, and we'll tell you what it is on the next podcast. So you guys can go there and check him out because he plays live. It's awesome, and you can follow him on Instagram as well. So, and I will.
Do you know that handle off the top of your head?
I'm gonna post it.
Okay.
Because I'll find it and then I'll put it on the video, and then I'll like voice over it in. I'll be like, Jeremy Ragsdale at
If you're looking for Jeremy Ragsdale, you can find him at.
exactly. You can watch Jeremy Ragsdale perform live Fridays and Saturday nights at Marcel's by Robert Vidmeyer, 2401 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. And there we go.
That's right.
Space.
Perfect.
That's the space.
That's great. I'll look them up right now.
Please do. So, Dan, it's since 2022, man. A lot has gone down since the last one we've done, and it's been crazy. 2023 was a bizarre year, to say the least.
Yeah, we the podcast, we took a break, we took a little hiatus. I think our Actors Club went away for a little bit, but then came back. I think I think we both had a lot going on in our personal lives, and there wasn't kind of time or energy, or you have to be kind of protective about your energies and where they go, and what you have time for. And I think both of us were in a place where this was the one thing that we couldn't really find time for or focus on, right? And
it was a little difficult, to do what needed to be done to do this show. To meet, we both had so many things going on, and there were just days when, at the end of the day, I was just so exhausted. I was just like, I can't do anything else. I can't, I can't find the energy to do another thing, to do anything. So that's kind of why, this got put on the side. A bunch of things that I was doing in my life got put on the side, and I know for you as well.
And I know, and we've talked about it, and you've posted it on your on your personal platforms. You focused on the things that you could control, that you could, that brought you peace and focus, and kind of let you kind of rebalance yourself. And you can see, I mean, shit, you're jacked up, dude. You look like the Night Watchman again.
I was, well, at the end of this year, well, not actually the end of this year, but starting in August, I made it a priority for me to worry about my health, to focus on getting in better shape, to get healthy. And I changed my diet. I changed just the way I live in general. I cut out a ton of stuff that I was doing that just wasn't healthy for me. And that included people that I hung around with. That included the food that I ate. That included spending time by myself so I could focus and just get things done that I needed to get done. It was just, I stripped everything away, and I just focused on that one thing. I went to the gym every day. I went for a walk every day. I spent time just meditating, focusing, being by myself, and just thinking about things. And it paid off. I lost close to 25 pounds. I gained a little bit back over the holidays, but it is what it is. I'll get back to it, after the holidays, and I'll be back more on a more strict diet like I was before. But I lost all this weight. I focused on getting in shape, and it's done wonders. I have more energy. I feel better. Everything all the way around. I'm thinking more clearly. I'm getting things done, and that's why I'm able to jump back in and start doing stuff like this again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot in my personal life from people who are mentors to me, and I keep hearing it on podcasts. So it's like the universe keeps reinforcing this message, and that's that you have to give yourself grace and compassion, and the same grace that you would extend to other people. When you see someone else who's going through something and they need to step away, you're like, yeah, totally do that. But you don't let yourself do that. You're like, oh no, I have to fight through. I have to work on 3 hours of sleep because I need to do these things. No, you don't. You can give yourself the same time and space to just take a break and go disconnect and recharge that you would give other people. And that's important. It's something I'm trying to learn because I've always been run myself down to 1% on the battery, and then a couple of years ago I got shingles, and that sucked, and those are the things that you don't take care of yourself, because you feel like you have to do all the things and you don't give yourself the space that you would give other people. So make sure you do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of a lot of people's issues in today's world, is that they push and they push and they push and they push and they push, and then they break.
Yeah.
And then that's when things go sideways in a lot of different areas. What you need to do is recognize it's going to break, and you need to step back before it breaks. And
right.
Then you need to say, hey, all right, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to shut some things down. I'm going to reassess. I'm going to refocus, and then I'm going to attack it from a different angle, or maybe even the same angle, but you just had to take a break from it just to decompress, refocus, clear your head, and then get back into the game.
Yeah, I'm in the same space. It's I've got a birthday coming up that has a 0 at the end of it, and it's really kind of occupying a lot of space in my brain. So
you're not gonna get any sympathy, empathy from me, because
I know
I've been there.
You've been there. It's in your rearview mirror.
I've been there. I've been like, yeah. You know what? And it blew by so fast. It came and went, and then at that point, you're just like, okay, well, I can't turn back the clock, so I better just keep going forward. So
right.
That's funny. The big 5-0 coming up.
Yeah, it is. So cheers, man. To glad you took the time that you needed, but
yeah, you
glad
too.
we're back.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers. And here's to if we need to do it again, we'll do it again. We'll take a step back. But right now, at this point, I feel like I got the energy. I feel like I've got the focus. I feel like I've got all the things in place that need to happen to take this to another level, to get it out there, start building our audience, start getting people in as guests that are really making a difference for other people in their lives as well. So, and that's what I want to do. I want to get people on here. I want to get their story, how they focus, how they treat themselves, how they treat others, and how they give back and make it happen for themselves. Not only for themselves, but how they help others while they're doing what they're doing. And I think that's a big thing. That's a big thing with anything in this world is, are you giving back? If you're a successful person, how do you give back? How do you mentor? How do you bring other people along? How do you raise them up along the way? So,
dude, I was literally, I'm doing walks a lot, and I was on a walk earlier, and I think it's called the Inside You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum. Mm-hmm. He had Alan Richson from Reacher on, and he was just talking about all that what are we doing to not just our art. We're more than our art. We're more than the things we create. What are we doing to improve the lives of those around us and things like that? So it's funny how these things kind of hit in all these different channels when you open up to them,
Exactly. I love that show Reacher too. And he's got a great story because, he's living with bipolar disorder as well, which is, that's tough. That's really tough. And, he's really stepped to the forefront with the mental health issue, which is fantastic. And his show is great. I know you've been watching it, so.
And it's one thing, and we're going to talk about this a little later, but you have shows like Ted Lasso that focus on mental health a lot. And Ted Lasso is not a 6'5" bear of a man. When you have someone like Alan Richson also reinforcing that the importance of mental health, that I think it helps a lot of people just feel like there's no, like our dads, our dad's generation, they drank it away. They buried it. They just sat on it and let it fester. And now there's people, big burly people saying, no, you got to go deal with this. You got to make it right.
Yeah. Otherwise, it manifests itself when it comes out. It comes out in explosive bombs that nobody wants.
Right.
If you bottle it up and you bury it, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, like I said, you're broken, right? And you broke it, and maybe you hurt other people in that process.
Right.
But if you know that it's happening, or you can feel that you need to take that break, go ahead and do it before things like that come up and happen.
Yeah.
So, But again, also on the other side of that, if it does break, it's not the end. You know what I mean? There's you can pick the pieces back up as long as what happened wasn't that bad. You
Right.
didn't break the law, you didn't do anything like that. But if you hurt people's feelings, or you said something you shouldn't have said, or you did something you shouldn't have did, there's always the you can try to make amends. You can try to get back to the place where things are okay. So,
Right.
but it is what it is, and we are who we are, and we're where we're at, and I'm glad to be back, and hopefully we can move forward with this thing and get some people in here, get some people listening.
We were talking about coming back sooner, but there was something going on, and we weren't allowed to for a little while. We couldn't do it.
Yeah, we had that strike that went on for such a long time. It was crazy, Dan. I mean, there were no auditions. There was nothing happening. I mean, there were the agreements that were out there, but I didn't audition.
I worked more during the strike than I did in the year before it.
Did you? That's good, because I didn't.
Micro budget or had a SAG agreement, so that was. I was like, damn, I don't think I want this to end. But yeah, I did want it to end. I didn't. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I didn't work at all during that time, and it was long and it was difficult, and difficult mentally, but it was also financially difficult because there's no money coming in. You're not making any money. You're not doing anything, and it was just. And I had films come out in the theater, and I couldn't even talk about them.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about a couple of those here.
Yeah.
So the first one was just really cool, and this one got a theatrical release nationwide.
That's the one. That's the one. I couldn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
It was Satanic Hispanics, which was a really cool horror anthology, and it was done by Latino filmmakers, and the director who directed my segment was, there it is, Satanic Hispanics. That's the hat. Yep, I got my hat sitting right over there. Yeah, right.
Released by Dread.
That's right. Released by Dread, and it was in theaters, which was fantastic. But again, even Roger Ebert's website, they wrote a nice little thing about the scene that I was in.
You and our friend Darian.
Yeah, Darian Rothschild. We got to have him on too. We'll bring him on.
Yeah.
But they wrote a nice little thing about us, about how much fun that scene was that we did, and that was kind of cool.
It was a great scene. That was. I would say your segment and the Hammer of Zanzibar were my favorite segments of the movie.
Why is that? Why is it? Because they were comedic. It was that, because that's what I thought. I was like, these two. I like these two better because they were comedic.
I think it's probably, and obviously we're in that horror comedy area, and the other ones. I mean, that's not that I disliked the other ones, but those were the ones that I gravitated toward, and and your scene was great. It was very, very funny. It had like a slapsticky kind of vibe to it. It was a lot of fun.
It kind of felt like the old Abbott and Costello
exactly
skit. You know what I mean? And that's what I enjoyed about it. I was like, it's right up my alley, right? It's right up my alley.
The crazy thing for me was, so I grew up in Frederick, Maryland, which is a really cool. If you haven't been here, we have an awesome. It was always a cool town to live in, to grow up in, and then somewhere in the time that I left after college and before I came back, I feel like somebody watched a lot of Frank Capra movies and said, "Oh, let's turn it into Bedford Falls." And so now it's like it's got this really cool downtown area. Everything's coming back to life, and there's a food scene here. The Voltaggios, Michael Voltaggio and Brian Voltaggio, who are on Top Chef, and all of Guy Fieri's cooking ranch and cooking diners and drive-in, all that stuff. There's a huge food scene here, so it's like this great little getaway from DC town, and being an actor here, growing up here and still living here, it's like you're in the middle of Western Maryland, 50 miles from DC or 35 miles from DC, 35 miles from Baltimore. But now Frederick was on screen in a movie that got released internationally, so that was really cool. And those guys up here, Carl Glorioso and Ed Sanchez and they're making movie after movie up here in Frederick. It's becoming like this little independent film hub, and it's really damn cool.
It is. It's fantastic. I mean, and we'll talk about more of the other films that they're doing out there, but this one was it was so much fun. I got to meet the Frederick City Police trainers because I had to go pick up my police uniform from them, the training uniform. So I went out to the training facility and I got to hang out with those guys out there for a little bit, try on the uniform, got to talk to them about the training facility out there. That was really cool. And then, we're in the middle of the night. We're in downtown Frederick. And, people are like, what are you guys doing out here? Oh, well, we're shooting a movie. So, oh, really? Yeah. We're like, all right. So they were like, what movie? Who's in it? I'm like, well, me. I'm in it. They were like, I don't know you. But you will.
Yes, you do. You just don't know it.
You just don't know it. You've seen me on TV. You just don't know it. But it was such a fun time. Eduardo Sanchez, obviously, the Blair Witch Project, and now he's doing things like this. He's directing Star Trek now. He's directing Supernatural. He did Supernatural. He did Yellow Jackets. I mean, he's doing all these great things. He directed me in this, and he really just let me play. He's just like, Ken, just be Ken. Just go. Just do. Be as ridiculous as you want, and we'll cut it together and we'll make it what it is. And I was like, all right, well, you asked for it. Here it goes. So I actually thought they were funnier stuff that I did, but they didn't use it.
And and in the movie you got Greg Grunberg, who was he was on Alias. He's in all the Felicity, all the J.J. Abrams stuff. He's like the guy that J.J. Abrams puts in everything. But he's a great actor on his own as well. And you've got Efren Ramirez, who was Pedro.
Fantastic.
Napoleon Dynamite. So
it's a fun film. So if you're into horror, you're into anthologies, it's Satanic Hispanics. It's out there on all your streaming services right now. Look it up, check it out. Satanic Hispanics. And you'll see a scene with me. I'm in the second story, so it's about 20-25 minutes in. And it's got 4 stories in it, wrapped around. One wraps them up, so 5 stories essentially. And it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. And it's directed by all Latino directors, which is fantastic. So that's why it's called Satanic Hispanics.
Right.
So when I tell people that title, they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, Satanic Hispanics." What don't you get about that? So Satanic Hispanics.
Like, I didn't pick the name. Shit.
Yeah, I didn't pick the name. I'm in it, but I didn't come up with the name of it.
And the guys who picked it are okay with it.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know. And it's some of my friends who they go to church every Sunday. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can watch that. I'm like,
I don't know.
Doesn't mean you're satanic. Yeah. If you watch it, and then say some Hail Marys after, or say the Lord's Prayer.
You get canceled. You're like, oh, you can't say that. You can't say that about people.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a movie, right?
Right.
It's a movie. All right. So we did that one. We had one called The Jester.
Right.
That came out. It was also shot in Frederick. I only have a small role in it, but our friend Dan DeLuca has a bigger role. He's in it, and he did a great job as a cop. He took my role as a cop.
Right.
I guess I wasn't available.
So The Jester, this was a short film that they turned into a feature, and actually I think I don't know if it was Bloody Disgusting or one of those or indie film. There's an indie film blog that did an article with the director talking about taking it from short to feature. That was really cool. Talking about how trying to stretch that short story into a longer, more developed thing. But yeah, so they've got that, and that's out, and that one's on all the streamers, or that one's that's not just Amazon Prime, right?
That's on, and I believe it had a theatrical run in different places around the world. Like,
okay.
Because it is straight up slasher horror. It has a great villain, iconic looking face, so That one is out making the rounds right now, and from what I understand, it's doing really well. So it's doing great on streaming. It was #1 on the Apple charts when it first came out. Don't know if it still is, but it's got a great core cast. The guys who wrote it, they really knew that character, and they expanded it from that short film into the larger world and feature that they were able to make it. They already had a fan base, so you knew it was going to do great from the get-go because it had been viewed millions of times on YouTube, the little 10-minute short that they did. And it's a fun character. It's fun in the sense that like it can become that cult icon, horror icon. And if they do the right thing and they send it to these horror conventions and things like that, and they have those people show up, sign autographs, the guy who played the Jester, other people who were in the Jester, I think that it will it'll get a Jester 2, 3, 4, 5. They just have to do it.
We've talked about it before. We go to these cons all the time, and the Terrifier guys that are there with Art the Clown, and this is. I'm sure some people will think that this was taken from that. This is kind of like derivative of that, but the short was prior, to Art kind of blowing up. It's its own thing. It's not derivative, and but they do a really great job of getting him there and engaging people at those cons and
they do
kind of driving energy around their projects, the Terrifier things.
Absolutely. And you know how I got the role in that one, Dan? In Jester? They had the guy that was supposed to do the pastor role called him at the last minute and dropped out. Couldn't make it. So they called me like last second. Hey, can you be here tomorrow at 11 a.m.? And I was like, sure. Boom. I got there a little late, 11:30, but
getting out to Frederick.
It was rainy and there was traffic, and I was like, I'm gonna be a half hour late, but I got there and we shot the scene, and I wound up in the film, which was cool. But it's funny how the world works, because I wasn't going to be in that movie, and the next thing somebody drops out, they call me, and the next thing you know, I'm in this film. So,
I had one like that last year. Another actor friend of ours was lined up for this, and he couldn't do it, and he referred them to me. A friend of ours, Chris, was lined up for a role, and he couldn't do it, and he referred them to me. And I came out and I shot the role. It was a really fun little quick scene, 2 quick scenes with these guys, and then they called me back very recently for a much bigger role in their next thing. So that was very cool. It's the show up and have fun,
Right. That's what it is, essentially. Right. I mean, that's essentially what we do. We show up, we have fun, and when it all goes according to plan, we show up, we have fun.
Sometimes less fun.
Yeah, sometimes it ain't so fun, but it is what it is when that happens too. So,
but I want to talk about the one you have coming out in a couple weeks.
All right, go ahead.
This is a lot. This is cool. This is again shot in Frederick, and it's called Last Night at Terrace Lanes, and it's directed by our friend Jamie Nash, and it's starring Ken here and Francesca Capaldi from Dog with a Blog on the Disney Channel.
That's right.
And your son and Eduardo's son, and my son has a small. He's one of the maniacs that's terrorizing people.
Exactly.
And our buddy Christopher Walker from Comedy of Horrors. So it's this trailer just dropped last week, right before Christmas, and it is fantastic. So if you get a chance, it was originally just on Apple, the trailer. Now it's on YouTube too. Look up Last Night at Terrace Lanes. Check it out. It looks like one of the great slashers that we kind of grew up with. It feels like an 80s type slasher that we would have watched back in the day.
It was a lot of fun to shoot. I got to tell you, working with Jamie Nash again, Jamie and Eduardo, they just say, "Be Ken, do right. Ken's stuff. Just go ahead and do that," and they give me the freedom to play, which is great. Right. So I go out there and I do crazy stuff. A lot of it they like, some of it they don't. but it is what it is. Hopefully they choose the best takes in the edit. And from what I saw from the trailer, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's horror comedy, obviously, and it, like you said, it stars Chris Walker as the bad guy. Sam Lukowski's in it. Wes Johnson, the voice of the Caps, he's in it.
Yep. Wes was we had Wes on the show.
We did, and after we did the show, they asked me if I knew anybody that had that gravelly gravitas kind of a voice and could play like a guy in a bar, and I was like, yeah, Wes Johnson. And 2 days later, he was on set working with us.
That's awesome.
It was really kind of cool. But it is going to be a lot of fun. And I think this film is going to do a lot better because I was out and I was talking to the distributor out in L.A. And they were kind of holding it back because of the bowling alley stuff that happened up in Maine. I don't know if you remember that, right? The shooting that happened at a bowling alley. Yep. So they were kind of holding it back. But they finally were like, okay, we got to release this now. And I think it's going to do for them, it's going to do really well. It's a lot of fun. Francesca's got, 1 billion followers on her social medias. So all of her fans are going to watch it. I play her dad in the movie, which is really kind of cool. And we have some really great scenes together, and it's a strong female-led project where, she's out there, she's kicking butt, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot, and I'm just along for the ride.
So I've had a couple of opportunities to work with my son, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
You had a chance to work with Elias, and how was that for you? What was that? I mean, you had to love it, right?
I did, but I only got to work with him in one scene, and the one scene was him being a teenage asshole, and me being the guy who's just like, okay, you little teenage asshole, you know what I mean? And it was just like every day of my life.
Right, it's like home.
It's just like home. So that was the one scene that we did get to work on. Other than that, I didn't get to work with, and when he did his stuff, I left him alone. I stayed out of the way. I let Jamie do his thing. I would check in with him every once in a while, and if he had any questions, I would help. But for the most part, I stayed away and just let him do his thing and let Jamie work with him and do whatever. So I tried to not get involved and just go ahead, have fun. And it was a lot of fun. He enjoyed himself, and we'll see how everything comes out on screen, but he seemed to enjoy it. It was his first real acting job he ever had, so we'll see. We'll see. I
don't know. He had that one. It's never been released, but he had that one episode of Click the web series that never aired. He did great in that.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see. They're doing a red carpet premiere January 14th in Frederick at Warehouse Theaters. So if you're in the Frederick area and you have an opportunity on January 14th, you can buy a VIP ticket or just a screening ticket. There are two different versions, but you can come out, see the movie, hang out with the cast and crew. It's going to be a fun night. And I know that this film is going to be a lot of fun and people are going to enjoy it. So I had fun making it. And anytime you have as much fun making something as, it was one of them projects that for me, it was a relief almost because I wasn't producing it. I wasn't, the stories, Dan, of The Night Watchman and A Comedy of Horrors and A Town Called Purgatory. But when you don't produce something, you can just come in and focus on being an actor and having fun. And that's what this was for me. And it kind of turned me around, this movie. It kind of got me back on track as far as being an actor because I was able to have fun. And I said, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what, I'm supposed to be coming to set every day, wanting to come to set every day, and just having fun with the cast, the crew, and everybody. And creating some real fun material that people are going to enjoy for a long time. So. And
I got to spend a little bit of time on set because, like I said, my son was also on it, and it just looked like a really fun set. You're hanging out in a bowling alley. It's with blood all over the place. It's great.
Yeah, the good thing about it was that we were working with a lot of people we were familiar with, which was great. But also, the one thing that made it kind of nerve-wracking was the limited amount of time we had. Because we shot that in 12 days.
Right.
I mean, that was quick. As far as a feature film is concerned, you're talking, and the film is not that long. It's only 75 minutes. But still, you're doing 75 pages of script in 12 days. That's a lot. And we were cranking that stuff out.
And yeah, I mean, you guys, I remember we went down to a festival in a con. DeLuca and I went down in Williamsburg, and you came down. You were working till like midnight and came down really, really late right after that, straight from there. So it was insane how quick that, for people that don't know, on average for a feature film, I mean, 18 days is a really accelerated timeline. So 14 days is just ridiculously fast. Yeah.
And I was there for 12 of those 14. So it was really, really fast. So, but I also think that that's going to be the beauty of it as well, as that we had to shoot so fast. We had to be creative. We had to be on point. We had to focus. We had to, and obviously there's going to be some things where you're just like, whoa, they must have shot that in 10 days.
And for those of you who, assuming we get this out, I think we're going to get this out before the 14th, but it's mdtix.com, and you'll be able to find it there. It's last-night-at-terrace lanes. There's a dash in between every word. It's last night at Terrace Lanes red carpet premiere Frederick MD, and so, or you can find. We'll share it to the Appletinis with Ken Instagram and Facebook pages.
Yes, we can do that. They have a Facebook invite out there, and it'll take you right to that link, and you can get your tickets. You can do the red carpet VIP, or you can just do the screening, which either or. It's up to you. But I'm gonna be there all night. Come say hi, and they'll have posters and stuff, and I'm sure we'll sign those for whoever wants a signed poster, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll get a picture with you. We'll do an Ussie. Hey, an Ussie. Can we get an Ussie? Oi,
that's a great fucking segue, man.
I know it. I love that guy.
Legend. So let's talk about what we did right before Christmas, a couple Sundays ago.
All right. Do you want me to lead into that by telling you why we got to do that? Why we were able to? So, as a member of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, and they have the awards every year, and I am on the awards nominating committee this year for TV. So I get special invites to screenings and Q&As and things like that in LA, New York, wherever in the country where they have these things. And I got an invite to Ted Lasso. And I was like, all right, well, I got to check with my wife first to see if she can go. But my guy who's going with me is going to be Dan if my wife can't go. Because I know Dan loves
you guys had gone a week earlier for Maisel.
Yes, we did.
Mrs. Maisel.
We went a week earlier, and my wife went to that. It was great. We got to see the cast of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. They were fantastic. We got to see a screening Q&A. It was fantastic. But this one was Ted Lasso, and they even had a little reception after, which was kind of nice. And I didn't get any pictures with everybody, but you did. You got pictures with people.
I got a couple Ussies with with a couple of the cast members. It was one of those things where I didn't even realize I was heading that direction. I came out of the bathroom at the reception, and I'm just walking through the bar area, and I'm face to face with Roy Kent. I was like, "Oi, shit!"
Exactly. How cool is that? This is amazing. But because I was on the awards committee, I get invited to these things. And the funniest thing is we go to this thing. We're in New York, and we're eating dinner. You and I, we go to this bar in this. It's not far from the theater.
It's called the Tin Building. It's down at the South Street Seaport.
Yes,
I think it was called the Tin Building, and it's basically like a bougie ass food court. You can sit there and you can order from any of the restaurants that are in that area.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And all of a sudden, I get a tap on my shoulder, and they're like, "Hey, you Ken Arnold?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I look, and it's a kid that grew up in my neighborhood back in Annapolis. And he's like, "Yeah, it's Barry McCormick." I'm like, "Yeah, Barry." He goes, "Yeah, my dad." And his dad comes walking up right as we're saying this. And his dad, Barry McCormick, is a good friend of mine. Him and his wife, Jen, they're good friends of mine. They live in my neighborhood. They live a few blocks
in the guild with us?
Yes, and Jen is in the guild with us, and she's also on the nominating committee.
Yep.
And she was there as well. So her and her husband were up there, and her son lived right around the corner. He's working for CBS Sports right now, and he lives in that area in South Street Seaport. And they were getting something to eat. We were getting something to eat. So we both sat there and we ate and watched the Dallas Buffalo game, which was great because Buffalo won. But that was cool. And then we go over to the theater, the iPic Theater, which is really beautiful theater. I thought that was really nice. And we went and we watched the season 3 finale, or the series finale, of Ted Lasso. And afterwards, they did a Q&A. They had Hannah Waddingham, Jason Sudeikis was there, Brendan Hunt, Roy Kent.
Brett Goldstein.
Yes.
Phil Dunster, who's Jamie Tart. So, and then just cast member after cast member after cast member. It was awesome.
It was fantastic. And we were three rows away from him, which was amazing. So
one of them, I think it was either the guy that plays Higgins,
Jeremy Swift.
He had a picture of all of them. I guess when they slid out before we were cleared out of the theater, they took a picture in that bar area before the reception, and they were like, "This might be the last time we're all together as a cast," which really sucks. We were all pushing them like, "Hey, another season, new spinoff,
something, anything, maybe. I don't know, but I got to tell you, since then, Dan, I've rewatched the series.
Okay.
I watched the whole thing. I'm on the last 2 episodes of season 3 now, so I'm going to watch those probably tonight or tomorrow night. But and I'm simultaneously taking Bill Lawrence's writing course through the BBC Maestros. So I'm doing both at the same time, and just seeing how he structured, how he wrote, and how he worked his way through not only Ted Lasso, but Scrubs, Spin City, other things that he has written, Shrinking. So and to tie the two together, from Bill Lawrence to, writing this with Jason Sudeikis, and the intricacies and the characters and the specificity of the things that you pick up when you know these things and you're looking for them. It's incredible. It's incredible. I'd recommend that anybody, if you're a fan of Ted Lasso, do it. But if you're a fan of Ted Lasso and an actor or a writer, do it. Just to see all the points and the things that they hit along the way. It's fantastic. It's great. It's a great learning experience.
The things that they come back to in that 3rd season from the 1st season, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. It is one of the like as much as I want more of it, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. The 3 seasons they gave us, and I know there were people that early on in season 3. I think you even said
that was me. I wasn't into it at first,
right?
But now going back and watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, all right. Now when I'm seeing it and how it ties all together, I'm just like, it's great.
And that's the thing I always say with these streaming shows that release one a week, like with that week in between, sometimes you don't quite get it. Like when you binge it, you see it instantly. Like, oh, that's where they were going. That's what they're building up to. And when you have to wait a week in between, sometimes you disconnect from it and you don't quite, that rewatch really kind of helps a lot of times.
Absolutely. And in the Q&A that I was watching, that I think I was talking to you before with Ted Lasso, where the casting director was part of it, about Will and how he got the role. at the end, they were like, what about the Wizard of Oz? And then they all perked up and they were like, yes, if you rewatch, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? Where's he from? He goes, if you rewatch the series, you pick up all these little Easter eggs of things that are from the Wizard of Oz.
Ah, shit.
Ted's red shoes. You know what I mean? All those little tiny Easter eggs that were Wizard of Oz references. And I didn't even realize it until I watched that Q&A and they said it. And then I was like, now I got to go back and watch it again.
Right.
To see all the little things that I missed along the way. How cool is that?
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But
I'm getting ready, but I was waiting till after, like we get big into like the holiday movie watching.
Yeah.
Things.
Me
So
too.
I was waiting till after that. We're gonna rerun through Ted Lasso from the beginning. So I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, but I just watching it again. I could watch it over and over and over again. Yeah. But as soon as I'm done with Ted Lasso, I'm going to go back into Shrinking, and I'm going to watch that again.
And for those of you who haven't dove into that yet, dived, jump in. I mean, it's Bill Lawrence, it's Brett Goldstein, and Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother that are the writers on that one, and it is one of my favorite things Harrison Ford has ever done. That character he's playing is fucking hilarious.
It's fantastic. Yeah, Harrison Ford is, I believe, a comedic genius. To be honest, because in Star Wars, it's a drama, but his comedic moments, are fucking, iconic now.
Yep.
So, and just him and Indiana Jones, the comedic moments are iconic.
Shooting the guy with the swords.
Yeah.
I know that came from him being ill, but the timing on that is hilarious. Like perfect.
Freaking great. It's freaking great. And he's great in Shrinking. And I hope he's able to keep working as long as he can and keep doing things like this, because he does have a great comedic presence and he's fun.
I liked the new Indiana Jones.
Oh, it was entertaining. Absolutely. Yeah. Better than the one before it.
Yeah.
And I love Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen's a great bad guy too. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that, and I like Fleabag. What's the writer?
Phoebe
Waller.
Waller-Bridges, something like that.
Yes.
Yep. Which I haven't watched Fleabag, and I keep meaning to go back to it because I've heard it's great.
You want to talk about a funny show?
Mm-hmm.
There's another one she did too in a hospital. She lived in a hospital with a bunch of other people, and it was only one season. But that's funny as shit too, and I'm shocked they didn't do another season of that show because it's hilarious. I got to go back. Go ahead.
But Fleabag has Andrew Scott in it, right?
Yeah, from Sherlock. Yeah,
from Sherlock, and he I share it every time it comes up in my memories. He does this if you get a chance. The National Theatre over in London, they posted this video of him doing the To Be or Not to Be for all of our actor nerds. It is, you want to talk about just breaking it down and making it just so simple and so effortless. Like his performance of that monologue is one of the best things I've ever seen performed. So
he is great. He's a great actor. My wife hates him, but she's like, I can't stand him, and I'm like, but that's because he does his job, not because he's a bad actor. Because he does. Is
he Moriarty in the?
Yes, he's Moriarty. So that's why she doesn't like him, because he's so good at the bad guy. And,
right.
He was the bad guy in Spectre, James
Bond.
Bond.
Yep.
So I mean, he's a bad guy. He's that he does his job so well that my wife doesn't like him as an actor. I'm like, but he's a good actor. You just don't like him because he's so good at what he does.
Right.
And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. So, what else we got to talk about, man? We're running out of time. We've already been on.
That's everything on the page, man. We got through it all.
Did we?
We did.
Nailed it. Matt, you ever watch that show? Nailed
Which
It?
is that?
The cake show where they make the cakes and then they say, nailed it.
No, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that? Oh,
Nope.
my God. You got to see that. It's hilarious. So go on and look up Nailed It. And what they do is they have contestants and they show them a cake at the beginning. And they say, this is the cake you have to make. And then they try to make it and of course,
It's terrible.
yes, they can't.
Like janky cakes.
Yeah, exactly. They're all over the place and look like, what the hell is that? But nailed it. No, you
Nice. Love
no,
it.
you don't. But it's a really fun show. We watch it with the kids. Speaking of, have you watched Squid Game: The Challenge?
Yes, I had. Well, Melissa and Jack were watching it. I've kind of come and gone in and out, but I've seen quite a bit of it.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. One of the guys I went to high school with and played baseball with, he is in the show. He's contestant
Right.
204 in Squid Game: The Challenge. Dan Bartolomeo. We grew up in the same town together. He's on the show. We're gonna get him on, and we're gonna talk to him about his experience being on Squid Game: The Challenge, because that was a crazy show. We were so into it. We were yelling at the screen. It was incredible. And it brought me, the wife, and all the kids together to watch it, which was great. The only one who didn't watch it is Kenny, because he was in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So we watched it with the other kids, and we were screaming at the television, laughing, having a blast. Oh, it was a lot of fun. So
I loved how they used people's knowledge of the game against them. Like,
Yes.
oh, this has got to be tug of war, right? So let's get all the strong people.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It's a brain game.
Yep. Yep. It's a battleship.
Battleship. Oh, yeah, Battleship. Yeah.
He was captain of the battleship.
Right.
Of the battleship episode in one of the teams.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get him on coming up soon. We're gonna try and get Jimmy Bellinger, who has that new series on ABC, Not Dead Yet.
Not dead yet.
Yep, and he just started filming season 2, which is fantastic. I was talking.
This was
to him.
great. I really enjoyed that.
I'm a little biased, right? I think the show is good, but I think the best part of the show is Jimmy.
Yeah.
But because he's our guy. But I think he's absolutely hilarious in the show. So hopefully they expand his role in season 2.
Yeah, definitely hope that. I think for a non-Bill Lawrence show, it does a really good job of trying to do what Bill Lawrence does, and bringing like that sentimental and the heart and the warmth in with the comedy.
Yes, with the comedy, which it's difficult, but Bill Lawrence is the master of it, absolutely. And if you can do that, if you can emulate, that's the highest form of flattery. Is when somebody tries to do exactly what you did,
right?
And tries to recreate that. And it's an amazing concept, but if it's executed properly, Scrubs, Ted Lasso, Shrinking,
Spin City,
you can really bend. You can really play with the heartstrings, and make the combination of comedy and drama come together, and really make a point, and it when it works well, and hopefully one day I get to work on something that Bill Lawrence is producing, or at least be involved with something that is very similar to what Bill Lawrence.
Well, hey, me and Roy were tight now. We had like a 4-second conversation, so I feel like we're friends now.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope he gets you in the next thing he does. He produces, because he's an up-and-coming superstar in Hollywood. Absolutely. He's a player, Brett Goldstein.
And I love his podcast, Films Be Buried With.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I listen to on my walks a lot. And
hopefully we can get on there one day. We'll get on his podcast, and we'll tell him the film I want to be buried with. What film you want to be buried? Real quick, what film you want to be buried with?
The Night Watchman, right?
And you can't say The Night Watchman.
Right.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Interstellar.
Dude, nailed it.
I know I did. I know, because you told me not long ago. And what did I do? Because you told me that, because I didn't remember Interstellar, right? So I went back and watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, and because I got to be on the same page as Dan. I got to go back and watch it and just see. I got halfway through it. I had to cut it off. But yes, I see why you like that film so much. Absolutely. So, and we'll talk about that more down the line. So Interstellar for you. I'm going to say The Natural for me, but that explains.
I totally get that. Yeah,
exactly. So that explains.
And The Natural was one that I used to have on my when I worked at Blockbuster. You know, before our friend Pat Barry fired me from our Blockbuster. Patrick.
That's
who calls an all-team meeting in a college town at 8 o'clock on a Saturday. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, Patrick Barry. Who does? Patrick Barry.
We always had a shelf, like employees' picks, and that one was always The Natural was on my shelf. The Last Starfighter was on my shelf.
Oh, I love that movie.
Interstellar definitely would have been on my shelf.
I know. I know it. All right, brother. We're gonna have to wrap this up. We've been on for, let me see, 57 minutes.
That's perfect.
It is perfect. Well, I'm going to go back in and cut some stuff out, too. We had a couple things. So it's probably going to be a little shorter. But I'm also going to add a few things like, this is where you can follow Jeremy Ragsdale.
The voice of God.
Yes. It's good to be back. Hopefully we can book some really cool folks and get these people on here so you guys can meet some of these people and see what they're up to. And Dan, thanks for coming back, man. I hope 2024 is a great year for you.
Happy New Year. Same to you.
Happy New Year. And, let's keep this going as best we can. I enjoyed doing this. It was just a tough year. 2023 wasn't the best year. Just saying.
But we got through it.
Great. We did. We got through it, and we're back. Let's just hope I can keep this 25 pounds off. I don't know if I'm drinking Appletinis every week, if that's going to happen. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try my damnedest. God damn it.
Oh, the next time we got to talk about the shark. The shark is broken. We didn't even talk about that.
That's right. Oh, the shark is broken. What a great show. What a great show. So we'll talk about that next time. And hopefully we'll get my buddy on from Squid Game, or we'll get Jimmy Bellinger on, or whoever. Maybe Tom Selleck. Maybe even Denzel Washington, or Tom Hanks, or Johnny Depp, or
Halle Berry. Yeah. Who's down below? I can't remember who's on the bottom of that one.
Al Pacino and Sidney Poitier. But
we can't get Sidney anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame. But it would have been cool because he was awesome. But
he was.
But anyway, Dan, cheers. And
cheers, brother.
Here's to doing more. Jeremy Ragsdale's going to show up right about now and do that song again, I think.
Let's do it. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. We'll talk to you. Peace.
Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh, yeah. Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken, oh, yeah, oh, Appletinis with Ken, Appletinis with Ken, oh, yeah.